If you want to get your own video made for you, exactly the same as you'll see in this one, then check out the first link in the description to get your personal PowerPoint made. Private option available. Okay, so today we've got a 24-year-old from Norway, and like usual, we're going to be getting straight into your best features. So your first best feature is a compact mid-face, and this is where the distance between your eyes is the same as the distance between your eyes and your upper lip. And the ideal is this 1-to-1 ratio, and yours clearly looks to have this, so it's a positive feature for you. Next, you have blue eyes, clearly the Nordic genetics, and this is an attractive feature because it adds contrast, it's good colouring. It's quite an underrated feature, to be honest. Well, it's either very overrated or very underrated, because some people just think face structure is everything. Other people think more in terms of colour, but I think in terms of both, to be honest. And your eyes are blue, and I think that it adds attractiveness to your face, so another positive feature. Next, you also have an almond eye shape. So I think that your eye shape is good, maybe not quite as good as the prime examples that we have over here, but still definitely above average, and that's why I gave it a positive. Your next best feature is you have good eyebrow thickness, and you have a decent eyebrow shape as well. They may be a tiny bit too N-shaped, but I still think that they're a positive, which is why it made it as one of your best features. And especially for men of your pheno, that it's quite difficult actually to have good eyebrows, because oftentimes when you've got the lighter hair, it's difficult to have density for your eyebrows. So yours are average to above average, which is why it made it as a best feature. Maybe you want to consider dyeing them a tiny bit darker, but as a whole, I still think they're a positive, which is why it made it as a best feature. Next, your hair texture is very good. It looks free-flowing and luscious. I wouldn't say there's any issues here, so it's another good feature for you. And you also have a good hairline. At your age 24, you're very fortunate to have no sign of hair recession whatsoever, so it's another positive feature for you, and I think you should consider yourself fortunate to have a Norwood 1 hairline at this age. Next, you also have good facial symmetry. Just flicking through a few of these pictures, it's clear to see that the facial symmetry is there, so it's always good to have this as a health indicator, and it's another positive feature. You also have a long ramus. So going to the side profile, it's clear to see that your ramus is long, even though maybe your jawline is a tiny bit round. It's not as sharp as the prime example that we have here, but just looking structurally, it's clear to see that your ramus does have a good amount of length to it. It's quite similar to the ideal. Next, you have a straight mandible, and it's pretty similar to the ideal. Again, you're failing a little bit because of the roundedness of your jawline, so it doesn't look as straight, but I think that if you focused on lean maxing, then your jawline would become more visible. Next, I think you also have good forward growth. As we can see, it's pretty clear that it's similar to the ideal example over here, so another positive feature for you. And you also have good chin projection, so going to the side profile again, it projects forward a little bit, which is similar to the ideal, so another positive feature. Your jawline is above average in most of the categories, to be honest. And you also have equal facial thirds, so structurally, I don't think there's any issues with your jawline. It's just that it could be a little bit leaner, because you've got all of the good features. You've got a long ramus, straight mandible, good forward growth, good chin projection, and a wide jaw, equal facial thirds. So you've got all of these good features to do with the jaw. Structurally, it's definitely above average, but you could just benefit from lean maxing a little bit to get more of that definition, such as we see in some of these examples here. And next, you have a refined nose. I was wondering whether I should give this as a positive or negative for you, because it might be a little bit oversized, ever so slightly, but still, it's a good shape and good size enough that it made it as a positive. If it was any bigger, then it would have been a negative, because it's not as quite good as the ideal examples here, but as a whole, your nose is still good. So it's another positive feature. Next, you also have a thick neck, so it's especially visible in the photo where you're shirtless, see your physique. It's clear you've been training your physique for a while. 82 kilograms at 5'8" is definitely a good mass to be in at this height. So you've been paying a lot of attention to your arms, to your shoulders, to your chest, and your neck too. And this is good for helping to frame your face and make you more masculine, make you more attractive. So It's another positive feature. Next, now getting into your flaws, which you have a few of, but obviously less than your best features. First, I think that your skin isn't the best. You got a few spots. It's a little bit rough. It's not 100% clear, and it would be better if it was clear. And obviously, there's like hormonal reasons for that, but there's also ways that you can fix it to try to improve the balance of oils on your skin. So one of the things that I would recommend is getting on skincare, because I think if you are able to get really clear skin, really smooth, then it's going to improve your score, which you'll see later on. So a skincare routine is a lot more simple than people actually realize. All you need to do is 3 steps every day: a face wash with warm water, and then moisturize it, and then put on an SPF. And obviously in your country, that last step might not be as relevant, but in terms of blocking all rays, some are still relevant even when the sun intensity isn't that high and causes aging. So if I was you, I think everyone should get on skincare, and it would in particular help you because you do have a few spots at the moment, and this is reducing the healthiness of your skin. Next, I think your cheeks are a little bit rounded, and they're not as bad as this example, but they're not as good as the clean-cut, chiseled example. So it's particularly noticeable in this photo, say, and maybe you suffer from like bigger fluctuations in terms of bloating. Some people are just like that their genetics predisposition themselves to bloat more compared to other people. And maybe you have this because your cheek just looks a little bit too round, and they vary in terms of roundness depending on the photo as well. So I would say that this is another issue for you. Next, your gonian is a little bit too round, but it's hard to actually tell if this is a structural issue or if it's just a body fat percentage issue. Because truth be told, you're obviously not overweight, you're not high body fat percentage, but you're not as lean as you could be. You are probably around 16, 17%, and that's okay, especially when you've got this amount of muscle mass. But I think that it could still improve, it could get better, and you're going to see improvements not only for your definition of your physique, but you're also going to see facial improvements as well. So for you, I would think lean maxing is a really important factor to improve and correct some of the flaws, such as the round gonian, such as the rounded cheeks. And finally, I think that you have a little bit of upper eyelid exposure. It's not as bad as the flawed example, but it's not as hunter-like, as attractive as the ideal example at the top. So you have a little bit too much upper eyelid exposure, and you can even see it in this photo. Is a common trick that guys use to, if they have high upper eyelid exposure, they tilt their head downwards to try and hide that flaw. But in some of the other pictures from different angles, you can see it more visibly. So this is another flaw, but it's not crazy bad, which is why it's the last thing on the list. And now getting into some Looksmaxxing advice. So first, I think that your hair is fine. Just stick to the basics. In one of the pictures, it was a little bit more unique. I don't like this one as much. I know you're trying to go for the Viking Nordic look, but I think it looks better when it's like this more basic style. It's pretty similar to the ideal examples that we have over here. Next, in terms of facial hair, I would say that you need to hit a sweet spot for it, because this just looks a little bit too long, and this is a bit too fluffy, and this is a little bit too sparse and a bit patchy as well. So I would say that maybe you just need to give it time and settle on something in between. Just have a couple millimeters of stubble, and hopefully once you're getting older and your facial hair becomes thicker, then you're not going to have this fluffiness or patchiness that is visible in some of the pictures. Next, I think that you've got a very good physique, very above average, probably in the top 20%, if not top 10% of physiques, because how many guys have we seen so far that have this level of muscle mass? I don't think any. So because of that, I think that getting in muscle fit clothes will definitely help you. It increases the primality that you have. Like, you have a better physique than me, and I wear muscle fit, and it definitely gets me higher choosing signals. So if I'm getting a lot more choosing signals when I wear muscle fit, then you could definitely get even more if you do it. Because what you don't want to do is hide one of your best features by wearing all of these baggy clothes. Don't listen to what anyone tells you online. Focus on primality. Focus on what actually gets you choosing signals from women in the real world by doing this trial and error. And I promise you're going to find out there's only one answer for what type of clothes you should wear, and it's going to be the muscle fit. Next, height maxing. 5'8" might be your biggest weakness, to be honest, because you are clearly above average looking and you're above average physique as well. So face and physique is above average. However, your height is actually below average, especially for your country, where I don't even think the average height is 5'10" anymore. It's like 5'11", maybe even 6 foot. So you're a good few inches below the average in your country. So because of that, you want to be wearing shoes that add just a little bit of height, at least 1, ideally 2 inches, and then you're going to be a marginal height for your country. So I think that this is a no-brainer. It's a direct improvement to your overall attractiveness. And finally, I'd recommend exposure maxing because, as I mentioned, you're clearly above average looking. You aren't going to be able to meet women if you just sat at home, not using the above average looks that you've been blessed with. So if you have the decent enough looks, then obviously you got to focus on exposure now. So this is another thing that I would recommend if I was you. And now lastly, getting to the final rating, when we combine all of the best features and all of the flaws, my rating for you is 6 out of 10. I think that you're clearly above average, so that's why you got this rating. And if anything, I was more leaning towards giving you 7 than 5. I think you're comfortably 6, potentially leaning towards 7. However, getting to now what your rating means, you scored 6, which is in the top 25%, top 10% of men. And I actually think you'd have potential to get 7 because 2 of your biggest flaws is the spots, which can be fixed from skincare, and the roundedness features, which can be fixed from lean maxing. So if you fix these issues, what structural flaws are we going to have that is bringing down your rating anymore? It's going to be barely anything. So I think that once you focus on lean maxing and skincare, then 7 out of 10 is definitely within your range, and that would put you comfortably in the top 10% of men. However, given your height brings you back down, overall, you might be back down to a 6. So for now, I think that you're a strong 6, and you have potential to increase to 7 out of 10, but you might always be capped at being a 6 overall because of your below average height in your country. So anyway, that's all I have to say for your report. If you want to get your own video made for you, exactly the same as you'll see in this one, then check out the first link in the description to get your personal PowerPoint made. Private option available.